What do you get when you cross a former police officer, now turned longtime private investigation agency owner, with a bunch of like minded individuals that like to fight for truth and justice by kicking butt, taking names, and digging into the facts? Why, it's the Help Solve the Case community and podcast, of course. And when you listen here, you will get all the information about the cases that we're working and learn how you can participate and be a crime fighter and a crime solver too. My name's Christine Burke, and I am the founder, and I invite you to stay tuned, listen in, and participate and help us help solve the case.
So we are here today. It is Christine and Tiffany, and I'm very excited. This is our first, can't even talk, so excited. This is our first bullpen discussion with pretty much, we'll just say our first case in the new format in the community. And I just thought it was a really good way to get everybody together off of Facebook. Not so much of a huge Facebook fan, and we can do a lot with it. And I just thought it was a really interesting case, especially since it was close to home. And there's a huge reward. Okay, I thought it was $10,000, but it's $100,000. And I thought, well, obviously, if you solve it, you get the 100,000. But I thought if we, as a collective, whoever we turn in the name from Help Solve the Case, to give the person 10,000, right, if they give us a good tip, and keep the 90,000 so that we can work more cases and find more people. And so we really haven't delved too much into it. The way this came to my attention, obviously, I knew back in the day when it happened, but the anniversary or whatever came up, they did an article, and I was, I know what it was. I was looking on the Scottsdale cold cases page, and I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's crazy. And in most of the cases, you have to start from ground zero. And I was like, okay, how can we do this? We got the pandemic and all this garbage going on. And this was great because we already know, allegedly, who the suspect is. So all we have to do is find him, right? And I've been told, I feel I'm really good at finding people. So, and there's money, right? That, two things that we need. So let's have a crack at it. But I didn't really read too much about it. And so I thought, with this being the bullpen and with the virtual investigators, we can kind of talk through a case and what we need to do and kind of get everybody thinking or brainstorming about where to begin. And so one of the things, let's interject this at first. Usually when you get a cold case, you go back and you review everything. You start with all the police reports and do all that. And so in this case, we're kind of shortcutting it because they're looking for Robert Fisher. Okay, he's on the 10 most wanted. Like that's that's pretty crazy if you're up there. Okay, so they want him bad. And so we kind of already know. So we're going to shortcut that, and we're going to talk about some things. And I can share the screen, and we'll just talk about, like, okay, what do we need to do? So in this case, we know who we're looking for, and from an investigative standpoint, what do we need to do? So Tiffany, we're just going to brainstorm. Like, this is just a brain dump. So I will add with, the first thing should be, what do we know? Okay, what do we know? So we would normally, talk to people or read the police reports. But in this case, there's kind of a lot about it. And I think we have a dropping off point, so to speak, or a last sighting of where this person is. So we kind of want to start with, what do we know, right? What do we know, and what else do we need to know, and then kind of go from there. So sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Tiffany. Yeah.
Well, the last known video or image of him was at an ATM where he pulled out $280 the night before the explosion of the house.
Oh, okay.
My understanding is they believe that was when he actually left. They were already dead at that point, and he just kind of rigged the house for the explosion. Apparently the amount of money is of some sort of substantial evidence for them, because they felt like that was a really good breadcrumb, because it was an odd amount. And then his last known location was in the middle of a forest here in Arizona. They were able to coordinate his last known by GPS. So I think that, the location of that specific forest is important. I know he has connections in New Mexico, and he had connections in Florida. I'm not sure, at this level of a crime, if those connections are somebody you're going to want to connect with, or if he's just beelining it for Mexico or something, So I feel like just getting to know the exact locations and maybe a direction of travel that he was known for could be a big help on possibly locating, an end for him, where he was wanting to go. My thoughts are possibly, he had about a 12-hour head start before police decided that he was going to be a suspect, because he was the only body not there. So 12 hours from, Scottsdale to Mexico, he's probably halfway across Mexico by then. So I feel like, if it were me, that would probably be something I'd do, get myself out of the country as fast as possible. And then from Mexico, the world's open to you. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking right now.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I don't see that anybody wants to get in the room. And I'm making notes, and maybe if you want to help make notes also, because my idea for this, obviously we're doing it virtually because we got the pandemic, but we're doing this in kind of a quasi real time in the community, right? In the group and in the case file, okay? And I will tell people, because people will probably be watching this, we've got the main case file, which is going to hold all the facts or the case information, and then we've got the discussion where we're going to do that, and people can put notes and everything like that. And so one of the things that we want to do is we don't want to say that anything is bad, right? We just kind of want a complete brain dump. And this is where I think the virtual investigators also, as well as our licensed investigators, come in so well, because they can have like a totally different perspective. Now, I really haven't read anything about this, but I was glancing a little bit online before I logged in, and I did see something about the ATM. I did see something about the woods. And I remember when I was posting this, because I was putting some of the FBI stuff, I saw something about firemen and outdoorsmen. Okay. So, yeah, just what he's like. They do have some age progressions that we can look at. And in this case, how do I say this? So I don't want to say that it's not accurate. I would like to look at the ATM, right, photo and make sure that it is him. Like they didn't lift a fingerprint off the ATM, right? So it could be someone else. Look, I mean, right. Well, we got to think about this, right? It could
be 100%
not him.
Yeah, because that ATM picture, to me, that face was very narrow.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know because obviously it's at an angle, he's looking down. The face looked very narrow.
Those things are so bad, okay? Like crime happens all the time at the ATM. Like, get a good freaking camera, okay?
Right. So, I mean, I'm thinking that this is the guy, because, when they probably ran his bank record and found out he pulled money out of an ATM, or somebody pulled money out of his account at that specific ATM. And so they went back for the footage, and that's what they came up with. And, like I said, the angle's wrong. He, in the pictures that they show, it's very head on, and he's very like chisel jawed. And in the ATM picture where he's more at an angle, it looks more like his jawline is more narrow. But again, those are very different angles. Your profile could be very different than your head on visual. So
well, and we need to, I'm thinking like we need to go conspiracy theory here. Really, like we don't want to say conspiracy, but I'm thinking as you're talking, like at first you're like, you know, when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, he was at the ATM. And then as you're talking, I'm going, well, how do we know it's him? Okay.
exactly.
Even if it was him the night before, who's to say, right? Conspiracy theory, right? Because anything is possible because we don't know. We weren't there. How do we know that somebody didn't have like an Uzi on him or something?
Right.
Oh no, right? So we can't take, right? Assume nothing. We can't take that necessarily as gospel. Okay, maybe he was there. Maybe he took out the money, but maybe I don't know, right?
Right.
And we'll talk about. So we need to check into all the facts and make sure that the facts are facts.
Right.
Because people, and we talk about this when we do our wrongful conviction and criminal defense. You know, nothing is ever certain unless you can prove it, you know, with a fact like DNA or something like that. But then there's always the circumstances around it.
Right.
Like for instance, we were talking that there was a class today about cell phone location and stuff, and it basically, I'm looking at my phone, and so it says, well, the phone was there, but it doesn't mean that the person was there. And I've actually got a case right now that has some issues about, well, yeah, the phone was there, and it was really good because we were talking about, it was actually a really cool class because he was talking about data that was pulled off the phone, very interesting, tying the phone to Germany. And I think you're going to look at it later, but I was like, man, okay, so just because it's there does not mean, right? So you always have to look around that. So we don't know, okay? So the first thing I would say is when we go back and we look at what is out there, we need to have an open mind, okay? And what I would recommend is, obviously, we're not working the case with the Scottsdale Police Department. We just picked it because we thought it would be interesting and would help our mission. And depending, I don't even know with the family, you know, obviously Fisher, Mrs. Fisher, I don't know who she was before she became a Fisher, but she obviously has family, but we always want to be cognizant about not traumatizing people and not doing that. So we're going to see what we can do.
Right.
What I would say is we definitely want to, since we don't have the original case file, read up online like you did and check into all the things and kind of see what we have. And so I'm just making notes. We'll read up and we'll kind of summarize what we find in the community. And that goes for any of the virtual investigators that are watching this later or whatever, to go and if you come up with something that we haven't found or whatever, or a fact, something that you think is you know, things to investigate
right
in the community. And then, so the other thing you were talking about is that he was seen in the woods. Now I want to go back for a minute because you said he and I think what I read, he went north into the woods. But then you said New Mexico, and I believe you said New Mexico, and then Mexico. So what was it about which woods? Do you know which woods?
I know. So far, all I've read, it just says Arizona woods.
Okay, because I think I read it was the northern woods, which would not make sense for, you know, Mexico itself. I mean, although he could have immediately gone there. Now, if he's an outdoorsman, he could have had a hunting cabin. He could have had buddies up there. Like maybe he went up there, again, if it's him, maybe he went up there to get supplies and stuff, out, you know, survival gear or whatever. And then maybe he went down through New Mexico to Mexico or whatever. What were they saying? You said they had something with the GPS coordinates or something?
Right. That's where they deemed his last location was based off of GPS location. But I'm kind of with you. It's just like, I don't know. It was just like a quick read up.
Okay.
And it just said that there's last known location they found via GPS location in the Arizona woods. I'm not sure because I mean it was early 2000s. Man, I was, you know, I wasn't even 20 years old yet. Did we have like the GPS on our cell phones back then? I have no idea, to make myself sound like an idiot here, but you know, I know we did the text messaging, you know, but I don't remember back when I was that young having a smartphone. It was all flip phones and text messaging, so I don't know if a cell phone would have a GPS location in it.
Well, that would be something interesting to see what they got the ping off of, right?
Right.
Was it because
army things or whatever?
Yeah, because back in the day, like the TomTom, whatever, you had this big clunky thing, and just like, people laugh at me. I talk about back in the day when I was a police officer, you had this huge map book, okay? Like you carried it around, you're in the car like with a map and you're flipping. It was crazy. And so you always had to get a new map book. And then when the phones first came out, it was great because well, some people were still using the GPSs, and you had to buy and pay for the thing and download it. And then and I'll say for a while, let me go back to that, because when I first came out here to Arizona in 2005, I started doing the process serving in 2008, and I remember somebody talking about they couldn't go to the house because they had the wrong address. They couldn't find the thing and the house, and it was because the download, they were not downloading, whereas Google knows everything. They were not doing the updates and the downloads. They weren't purchasing the downloads into the handheld device, and so they weren't getting the most updated data. So that's 2005. So yeah, that's an interesting question. What was he using that would have done that? And then now my favorite is my database, which we're not going to say the name because that's very proprietary, and everybody always wants to know how I can do what I do, how I work my magic. But I would say, that no matter what the case, I always like looking in the database because it gives me an idea of what the person is about. And it's so amazing too. And that's why this is kind of intriguing. I can't wait to pull it, because one case I had, it was 2017, and from my desk, I found in like 15 minutes, I found an ex-cop who was in two like domestic witness, violence, I don't know, I want to say like witness protection programs, but they hide the identity and the location and all that stuff, had moved, changed the name and gotten married, and a former police officer, right, found her through the database. Okay, so
they did an awesome job in witness protection then, didn't they?
Right. Well, and that was kind of an error, just doing that. And I keep saying I need to have a class on databases, right? Because the data is there. You just need to know how to look for it and put something together. So I'm excited about, that's one of the first things that I have on my list is I want to do the database. So it sounds like we want to read up as much as we can on the internet, and we want to check the database. And then I'm just trying to think what else. Maybe we want to talk to some neighbors. Maybe there's some neighbors that might still live there. Again, we want to be cautious about, because we're not paid to work on the case. We don't want to traumatize anybody or do anything that would offend anybody. Or also, we want to talk about interfering with any type of police investigation, right? But they put a reward out, and that's another thing too. Like we were talking about in the Chameleon, what was it, Rasmussen's, in that discussion where the officer said, usually having the public and having people help us impedes the case, but in this case, it's worked out well. So well, that was the same with the cat case, I'll call it. And oh, you froze. You froze. Hopefully you're going to come back. We'll wait and see if Tiffany refreshes. But typically we don't know what's going to happen when having the individuals, even trained investigators aside from law enforcement, or having our virtual investigators, or even the public reporters, jump in and try to help with the case. Sometimes that is not met with the best, I don't know, the most nice acceptance, or they're not welcoming to it. So, oh my goodness. Oh, it looks like we lost Tiffany. Maybe she is going to come back in, but I will keep going here. So I'm just making my list, which I'll post in the group. So we want to check the database, and we want to read up on the case, on the stuff that's on the internet, and we want to try to maybe we'll take a look at some of those locations. It would be interesting. That's a really old case, but some of the things I'm thinking about is with the ATM, and hopefully they would have pulled this. Maybe, making notes, maybe there were other cameras that would have caught something, you know, as I said, my conspiracy theory part of it. Maybe there are other cameras. Here she is. She's coming back. Hey. Yeah, you froze. That's okay.
My internet, man, I am not happy with my service provider at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody's pulling on everything. So I had to reboot before we came on. But I was just chatting on about the fact that the database, we're going to go and read everything that we can. We'll go and summarize it. And then I was just thinking as I was writing that with the ATM, it would have been interesting to see if other buildings in the area might have caught the surrounding, right? Because,
Yeah.
well, people maybe not know this from working bank robberies and all this stuff. The ATM catches like right here, but banks usually should have, you know, all the parking lot covered in different angles and things like that. So I would have hoped they would have gotten that, but I was talking about cooperation again, that, you know, sometimes they think, you know, we're intruders or whatever, but
you know, the thing is, they put out an award for help, so I think that means
so we'll just say that they're pretty confident. We'll go along with their reliability that he is the suspect, okay? Until we come up, you know, like when you're working in these cases in the wrongful conviction and criminal defense, and you're like, oh my God, you know, this isn't the person who did it. So we'll work on that premise and see if we can find him. I'll pull the database, see what I can see. And I was thinking about the woods, you know, because it would be awesome to take a trip, because we've all been housebound. Maybe we need to go up in the woods and look around, see what was there, and we can show some of the tricks that we use to look in different areas. Do you have anything else that you think we need to add?
Well, I know you had said something about like contacting some of the people without being intrusive.
The neighbors.
Right, neighbors. I know they had some interviews with friends of the couple and everything, and you know, some of the things that they were reporting to the news outlets and stuff at the time was, they had problems in their marriage. He was very controlling.
Oh, yes. I read something about an affair.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
But, it's like one of those things where would they have said these things before this? You know, is it, we think he killed our friend, so he's this terrible person now? You know what I'm saying? Or are these like actual,
after the fact?
Observations and stuff, you know?
Well, I have a lot to say. So first of all, I want to say with the affair, and I thought about that when I did it, but I was trying not to let my brain go wild. Okay, who's the girlfriend? We need a girlfriend, because he could be with the girlfriend. Okay, like we see all those movies, these gangsters and all these people, and they end up, or the witness protection, and they always break it because of some family member, or they were in contact with somebody. The other thing I want to say is, people, please, if you are not happy in your relationship, just leave. Okay.
Yes.
You don't have to kill everybody. All right. I mean, and it's
that's my husband too.
This happens so many times.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know.
If you ever want to leave me, then just leave me, because I'd rather be heartbroken and alive than 6 feet under, okay?
Well, I mean, and I don't remember what I read. If she was going to leave him, she was going to leave him, I think, because he had the affair. So I guess if receiving end of it, not much you could do. I guess maybe in some cases, and if you've had a violent situation or controlling situation, then you got to, you know, leave in secret. I don't know. But that'll be really interesting to read up. So yeah, so I'm just very excited. I think we have a lot of good places to start, and this is just how it's gonna unravel. You know, we'll meet, I don't know how often, depending on what we find. We do our investigating, our investigators and the virtual investigators, and then we meet in the bullpen. And for people that don't know what the bullpen is, you know, in the detective bureau, it's all those massive desks together if you see some of these crime shows. And this is good, where you just play everything off of everybody and try to come up with new ideas. So do that. And maybe we'll take a field trip. So
That's good to me.
there you go. I hear you. So, all right. Well, if that's it, then we'll go ahead and end this. If you are watching it after the fact, feel free to go and post in the discussion. Maybe, you know, make your own list of things to do, and that, or things that you found that you feel either identify him or things that need to be followed up on, and we'll go from there. All right. You.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will talk to you soon. Thank you for helping us help solve the case. See you later.
Before you go, this is Christine, and I want to thank you for helping us help solve the case and remind you that you can join us as a virtual investigator or as a licensed investigator at helpsolvethecase.com. Look forward to talking to you next time, and have a great day.